There is a man who is not a sissy. There is a man who is such an alpha male that he will tell you personally he is an alpha male, quote unquote. This is a man whose accent and goatee belie toughness, a seasoned veteran of terrorism, of the world, such as it is and not as we would want it to be. Of course, I'm talking about the great Mandarin collared, I am not a communist, Sebastian Gorka. This is Handy Geraldo, some dude who I don't
Dan
know.
Bongino.
Dan Bongino, hey.
Former Secret Service.
Yeah, I was in the Secret Frickin' Service. Dan Bongino. And then, of course, now we have Gorka. Gorka looks at this and he's just like, oh, I'll raise your reckless stupid and enhance it. Let's take it to 11.
There's an issue with this question of arming teachers, especially if they're vets. You don't have to be, a tier 1 operator or a classified marksman. Where if there's one person in the building who's simply laying down fire in the direction of the perpetrator,
I think it's a terrible idea.
It's much harder to kill people.
Gorka comes in with basically the teacher in the middle of an active shooting situation should basically just step up and lay down fire
in the direction
of the perpetrator. And then Gorka's just like, he was lied to, he was promised smears, and ended up talking about pathetic Russian babies. He was misled, if anything.
This guy's level of pomp is
incredible.
It's out of a fucking James Bond movie.
I know.
It's amazing.
But not he's the assistant who gets thrown into the Shark Tank after displeasing the main guy.
Paid.
I was the junior associate at Spectre
until
I was killed at an annual meeting in Vienna.
and he goes, Obama had one quarter of the leaks. I'm like,
seventh or something.
Dude.
Or 7 times less.
That's technology for you.
Right.
Or he's running a tighter ship.
Right.
What are you talking about?
The idea that there is no such thing as a lone actor as long as they share an ideology is absurd.
We are alone together, sharing a transient experience, each in our own self-contained shells, but always connected through the bonds of shared biological community and experience. Jew.
Are you familiar with transcendental meditation?
Are you familiar with the tenets of existentialism?
We're all part of one large organism. We were, at least until Obama tried to separate us into black and
Obama
white.
destroyed our connection with Mother Gaia, which was always his plan as part of a larger ISIS conspiracy, which is why he said lone wolves when we only exist in a state of interdependence.
Do you realize
a cuck.
When someone picks a dandelion in China, I feel a sharp pain in my ankle?
I literally am breathing the same breath that the Buddha breathed, that Hitler and other great men. Excuse me, what did I say?
Okay, so I think that most people...
I do not have Parkinson's. That is fake news.
My God. I'm not... So I think most people are aware by now that far-right...
Those don't count because those people are white. Do they have a black flag?
It's a little thing called the Great Chain of Being.
All right, guys, it's going to be impossible to stop you, but I'm just saying it.
No.
That just for the record, most people do know that people...
There's no such thing as lone wolves.
thing as lone wolf.
They're all
right,
connected.
I give up. And I was kidding about the Parkinson's thing. Matt told me not to bring it back up again.
My son wanted to make sure I told you. Dab on them haters.
All right. Wait, it's still happening?
You need a crime before you have a special prosecutor. These things have been thrown out the window, and now we have a fishing expedition that's turned into a witch hunt. So I'm glad the president has come out of the corner swinging, but when is the AG
You wouldn't have expected anything else, would you?
No.
I like how Lou Dobbs is sort of like, would you explain, hey, you're the biggest sycophant on the planet, but I mean, you almost implied like he wasn't always swinging there. Would you like to make sure that while he's watching this, he doesn't misinterpret that and freak out at you? And he's like, oh, of course I do. Of course he swings all the time. He also has the biggest penis on the planet, Lou.
And he is turning over the tables in the swamp.
And he's turning over the tables in the swamp, Lou. He's smacking people's faces with his well-endowed penis on behalf of America. And I think anytime a fishing expedition turns into a witch hunt, I think is a very disturbing thing. That was how Salem was founded. It was there were these people were fishing in lakes in Massachusetts, and then they were like, you know what, we're not getting what we want. Let's go burn a woman.
Why?
So that's which is exactly what's happening to Trump.
Why aren't the fish biting today? It must be a witch.
It must be a witch.
Some kind of a hex.
So he's been unshackled, ladies and gentlemen, from his self-shacklation that he suffered in the White House when he took that job. Now I can rev my car and switch from neutral right into drive. Skid out. No one can tell me not to do that anymore.
In the White House, you can only spy on Muslims legally. Outside, you can spy on everyone. The whole world is your ex-girlfriend, and you can stalk her.
24 marathon can do now.
They're undermining or they're broadening what is called the Overton window, meaning the list of things that are deemed acceptable.
Incidentally, Sean, should I stop calling Christine Blasey Ford and asking if she has Prince Albert in a can? Would this apply?
So, Seb Gorka, after first talking about how he's been unshackled from his self-shacklation in the White House, and now he can do much more damage to the left.
I'm going to go down to Radio Shack and get a whole bunch of home spy equipment to use on the left. My friend Steve has already evaded 5 restraining orders on several exes, and I'm going to learn from him about how to terrorize
The master
left.
of the arcane and dark arts.
No one is going to tell me not to drag race the left at stoplights anymore.
Pretty soon, the whole liberal left is going to be like, Gorka, stop calling us, please. And I'm going to say, no, I know how to disguise my number.
There you
Christine
go.
Blasey Ford, is there a homo there?
I would like to...
Homo says what? Ha ha! Dr. Gorka got you again.
Sometimes Steve calls me Borka. He just like combines the B on Seb and drops the G because that's his nickname for me.
That's the
'Cause
kind of
we're
guy he
good
is.
friends.
I tell him he's like Johnny Cash, and then I give him a back rub, and I'm proud to play my role in the war on terrorism. Understanding really so facile that 2 heterosexual men can't give a man that he worships and admire a full body rub while he talks about batting Guatemalans from Starbucks. Is your understanding really so puerile?
Our big issue is black African gun crime against black Africans. It is a tragedy. Black young men are murdering each other by the bushel. Legislation will not save lives.
I assume what he's talking about is African Americans, but
Yes.
that's not what you said. I couldn't figure out who these African
Americans.
Well, and it,
That's yes, African American.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Did I say black Africans?
the black Africans who must be managed in Rhodesia
Yes.
by a great leader like Ian Smith. Oh, am I
Oh,
on
no.
mic? Excuse me.
Oh my.
Pardon me.
That's what I said. Black African American.
Black Africans, the soul of darkness, of
So
blackness in
black.
Chicago, with their black skin and their
Did
black
I
hearts
mention
and their
black?
black eyes.
They're black.
They're black. They're blackety, 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 black, black, black. And they've got-
Legislation won't work.
Legislation won't help with the blacks
Black
unless you could
Africans.
legislate basketball instead of shooting.
We've got to have
Anyone?
African basketball.
African basketball so they can play with each other by the bushel instead of shoot each other by the bushel.
Yes, African American.
African Americans.
Right.
By the bushel.
But they're
sold
black.
from Chicago.
I want to remind
where
you,
they're
they're
black. Black.
So black.
A few minutes later.
This is Sam Seder on Chris Hayes. And it's great because Sam's going into one, like, this is just total, like, this is such a layup for Sam. Like, he's mid-context to be like, and this is why Trump's going to talk about the social issues, because every time Republicans are in power, they talk about the social issues. This was war on Christmas. This is political correctness because they're getting the tax cuts, so they talk about social issues. Do you see? And he's lining himself up to nail that point, which he's made a gazillion times. And then all of a sudden, Gorka strikes.
We're going to see Donald Trump return back to that agenda of waiting for a black African, an African American athlete to come out and say something that he can spend 2 or 3 weeks talking about. I mean, I think this is what they're looking for, the culture war.
Can we play it in slow motion?
So I just landed in San Francisco, here to give a lecture at the Reagan Library tomorrow. Very excited. And I pick up my rental at my favorite company. Of course, it's a Mustang.
There you go.
Yeah, that's like a right-wing YouTuber trope where they're like driving in a car. Let's get those hots going.
It might not look like much, but this is how the right wing took over YouTube. These sorts of videos.
I got to get on that, I guess. I'm just driving in my Subaru. I just rented a Subi.
I should have made one of those this weekend. Of course, I'm in my Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah, put the top down.
Are we talking about Jeff Irrelevant Flake? Why doesn't this guy just, he is more lame duck than the House of Representatives right now.
Double them haters.
Boom. So he's super duper lame duck.
He was a what? Could you rewind that?
Chosen to be president. I worked for him. Yes, I was a politically commissioned officer. But this level of hatred, not good for the health of the Republic. I love C-SPAN, Pedro. This is one of the best shows out there. But that's un-American.
That's
Republican line
I'm so sorry to say this. Did you just make up a title? A politically commissioned officer? Sebastian Gorka has on occasion worn the pin that belonged to his father as an homage to his father, Paul.
Fine man, old dad. Did a lot to control the local populations.
He was a man of action.
He was a man of action.
He wouldn't just sit on the sidelines.
He wouldn't call up a Jew to complain about his Twitter feed, as an example. He would ring them right out of their home.
That's right.
I admire old dad. You can look at that in my Trump University PhD doctorate. Dad, man of action and how to destroy Islam. A counterterrorism, geostrategic, geoastrological, forward-based, forward action approach for Trump University.
By Dr. G. I say that so that I can remain approachable by all white people.
It doesn't matter whether they be Norwegian or Scottish or anything else. You can approach me.
Victims of the Great Swedish Wars.
Victims of the Great Swedish Wars. You can approach me at any rest stop in the real America, and I will be quite receptive.
Feel free to walk up to my Chevy Tahoe or my F-150.
You'll notice that at a airport in Minnesota, I might have a wide stance, as it were. And feel free, if you're a white man from a Northern European extraction, to tap right by.
The beta boys are back in town.
The alpha males are back in the restrooms.
The alpha boys are back.
The alpha men are back at America's rest stops.
All right. There's
Backbone of America.
There's a cooking scene, and he's like, if you're really a bad boy, you put in Crisco oil.
You cut the garlic thin, just like Paulie did it in Goodfellas.
You did not watch that whole thing? That was a big mistake, because then I think like Douchey goes, I'm a bad boy.
I bet you are, Douchey.
Let's do the Crisco.
Why don't you my wife, hey, look, listen, I'll look at my calendar. My wife is out of town. Why don't you come over to the White House and have a cooking session with me, Stephen?
The Alpha Boys are back.
He is a leading authority on topics like national security and terrorism, but today he's an expert in your taste buds. Today we are cooking with the Gorkas.
You're going to brown the onions. in some oil, or you can use, if you're a naughty boy, some Crisco. So you
Naughty boy.
Yeah.
I like Crisco.
So do I.
Oh my God.
I completely thought you were making that up.
No,
I didn't think it was real at all.
It's real.
I shall consult my calendar.
If you're feeling like a dirty boy.
Feeling like a sassy boy.
Because she had it all. She had the media. She spent $1.4 billion on a seat, on a position she thought was owed to her because of her gender and her last name, right?
Right.
But she lost.
That bitch. God hates women.
And as my good friend, Chris Plant, best morning show. Listen to Chris Plant on the radio.
Wait,
every time.
Wait. How do we
Chris
get that?
Platt in the morning.
10th caller who says she's a bitch gets a free ride in my Mustang.
7th caller that says Hillary's a whore. I could call this jingle calling for a program against the Jews. Gets a ride in my Mustang and a new Hillary Clinton cake urinal cake to piss on. The Chris Platt in the morning. Fresh thinking.
Every time, every morning, it's a dose of sanity. Chris reminds us on his show.
So here, let me just make it clear. Apparently, Seb Gorka was forced to serve in the administration.
I served in the administration so that I could have immunity for life, which is something you think is usually restricted to Jews in your money lending schemes.
Well, how does that get immunity for life?
Because of time served in the White House. I mean, is your understanding really so facile?
So after his turn at the Values Voter Summit, telling the left, watch out, he's got another message, too, for a certain class of people.
Steve has declared war on the Rhino class, as have I, and we must tell them we have had enough.
Really? Must? What? So wait, the war is just going to be tell them that we've had enough? Is that the war? We've surrounded them on two sides. Steve has declared war on them. So have I.
I dealt with rhinos in Hungary. They were the ones that wanted to denounce the Nazi party. Fuck that.
So now we just need 2 more people to declare war on the Rhino class, and we will have them surrounded.
You don't want to be surrounded by Steve. Believe me. Ask some strippers in Florida how that turned out.
Isn't Steve the coolest?
Steve's the coolest guy.
And so am I. I also hang out with Steve. So he's cool, and I'm cool because I'm with him. I hang out with him.
I have 2 of Steve's mobile numbers, including one of his burner phones that he uses after he disposes of bodies in acid. That's the kind of guy I am.
I know the first 2 numerals of Steve's PIN, of his PIN that he uses at the ATM. That's how good of friends I am with Steve.
My wife.
14. You can guess what the second 2 are.
14, yeah. Extrapolate from there, pajama boy Jews.
They want to take your pickup truck. They want to rebuild your home. They want to take away your hamburgers. This is what Stalin dreamt about but never achieved.
Right.
You are on the front lines of the war against communism coming back to America under the guise of democratic socialism, which is just a PC term for communism. God bless all of you. Can I ask a favor before I go? The boss always likes this. Can you stand up and we'll give you a thumbs up? Come on, everybody. God bless.
God bless. America First Radio, sponsored by Webistics, which you might remember from season 2 of The Sopranos.
It's not a very alpha way to end a speech, to take a picture for your boss. The
All
boss
right.
loves when I do this.
Everybody, we're going to crush communists, crush socialists. Now, if you wouldn't mind, can we take a selfie for the boss?